I think meeting him was a real turning point creatively for me. He's an incredible musician and he's very intuitive. And so like kind of get to a point where you just kind of complete each other's musical sentences or whatever. So we supported Daughter in America. We played at a place called Shepherd's Bush Empire, which is like a 1,500 capacity venue in London. And I remember thinking even then I couldn't afford to get a coffee the next day.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk Talk. Today I'm here with Davey at Bears Den.
Hey!
So you're originally born in the UK?
Originally born in the UK, yeah, that's right.
Where in the UK?
In London.
Oh,
in England.
like in London? I feel like most people are born in like kind of the suburbs. There's like...
No, it was London, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your parents are originally from London as well?
My parents are actually from Scotland.
Oh, okay.
So I have, some roots in Scotland and stuff.
They moved to London for their job?
Yes, that's right.
What do they do?
My dad is a teacher and my mum worked in advertising.
Oh, so you think you got your creative skill from your dad then, or?
A little bit, yeah. My dad taught Greek and Latin, and like my bedtime stories when I was a kid were like, I don't know, myths and stuff like that from like
that's cool.
classical mythology stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like kind of it was all really interesting stuff.
Did they do music as well, or?
No music, unfortunately, but yeah, there was, my dad's a big fan of music and so is my mum, so yeah, but neither of them played.
What kind of music were they playing in the house when you were growing up?
My dad loved Bob Dylan, and my mum loved James Taylor and Carole King.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And what age did you like pick up your first instrument?
I picked up the recorder when I was about 8, I think.
Oh yeah, I think that's the same as me.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a good starting spot for anyone. And then I tried a bunch of different instruments, but I couldn't really get on board with it. I tried violin. Yeah. That didn't work. And then acoustic guitar when I was about 15, 16, and that kind of stuck.
Did you take lessons?
I took like 2 lessons, and then I just asked a friend to show me how to play like Wonderwall or something like that. And then I was kind of like, cool, just 4 chords, that's all I need. And then I just started writing songs basically. Oh wow. And then
so you went from like straight to originals, like barely any covers.
Yeah.
That's so rare, like back then.
Yeah, I guess so. I think I just wanted to learn how to play a bunch of things so that I could then use it to write songs. I think I've always seen it as like a tool rather than like an end thing in itself. So I'm like not really a very, I don't know, I can play like GCD like no one else, but I can't really do like any solo or anything else.
What were the songs that you wrote back then about?
Oh, they were probably terrible, sort of, why doesn't this girl fancy me kind of songwriting or something like that.
Heartbreak already back then, till now.
Heartbreak as a teenager, that sort of stuff. And yeah, it was actually my sister was like, I was like a big thing for us as a band, was like, but my sister was like, you should write songs about everything, not just wah heartbreaky stuff. Yeah. And when I like listened to that, we started writing songs that are a bit more interesting, I think. So yeah. Do
you still have this, like, did you record those songs back then, or was it just kind of, like, are you able to find them now?
I've tried to remove any trace of them.
So you were uploading really them online?
I did, a little bit, yeah. I was in a bunch of bands at school and stuff as well, and but like, I was in a country band called Captain Kick and the Cowboy Ramblers, which was fun, but yeah, that stuff's somewhere, probably available still. I don't even know if it is.
How would you describe your personality back then growing up?
I think I was like been quite introspective, but also quite, it's also a little bit extroverted as well, so like introverted and extroverted. I think I've always been a bit like that. I always like performing, like in like plays or something, or in like I don't know, gigs and stuff, but I've also always loved like, I don't know, I guess I always loved reading and stuff, so I guess they're quite different sort of things, but yeah, a bit of a mixture. I kind of still am, I think, a bit like that. So yeah. And then did you know from the onset that music would be your career? Definitely not, no. I had no idea what my career was going to be, and then when I turned 16 it was like either study for exams or like learn guitar, and I just decided to just start learning how to play guitar, and then when I was about 18 I think I just went, that's what I want to do. So you didn't go to college or uni? I went to a music college for I was supposed to go for a year, but I dropped out after a term. and because I just wanted to write songs and just play live. I didn't want to become like the world's greatest singer or greatest guitar player. I wanted to like write songs, which I think is, you can definitely learn, like having a good knowledge of music does help with that.
Yeah.
But I think it's also like, it's good to kind of figure it out yourself a little bit as well. So yeah, I just wanted to get on and do that really.
And then was it from the band back then that was pretty successful? You were able to live off of it?
No, no, none of the bands I was in were very successful. But yeah, I did a ton of other jobs. I just like bartended, I worked on a building site for a really long time. And yeah, I just sort of did all those other jobs while figuring it out. And eventually I met Kev, who's like, you know, half of Bears Den, and is basically like, we've always been making music together now for like, well, Bears Den's been 7 or 8 years, but we were in another band before that. And yeah, so between us, we just kind of always collaborated on stuff. And I think meeting him was a real turning point creatively for me. He's an incredible musician and he's very intuitive. And so like, kind of get to a point where you just kind of complete each other's musical sentences or whatever. So
yeah. So did you really click from the onset that you realized like you would be with him for a long time?
I think we clicked as mates really quickly, and we just like, I don't know, we're just like, this guy gets it. And then, yeah, the music just sort of naturally, I think we just naturally learned off each other over time.
And was he also working like odd jobs when you were starting out?
Yeah, Kev's done all the jobs in the world. Every single job you could imagine, Kev's done. I still find out new jobs.
Oh, really?
Like today, like
what?
In like interviews, like he told me the other day he worked in like a pizza place, which I had no idea about. He worked in a trifle making factory at one point.
Wow.
He was like, when I met him, he worked in a shoe shop as a like, but he was like working with the leather, and he was like,
oh wow,
what's the word for that? Not a cobbler, like actually making bespoke shoes for people. That's what he did when I met him, and he worked in a place on Tottenham Court Road. And
that's really cool.
He's a very interesting guy.
And then how did you push your music out there initially?
Well, I guess it was like with Bears Den, I think the first tours we did, we potato stamped an EP that we recorded ourselves, and we played shows, and then we'd have this bear paw potato stamped on a CD, and I guess it was just like a bit of fun, but also gave us a way of talking about it on stage that made it not feel too, like, I don't know, like too silly or something. We were just like, here's the silly thing we did, if you want to pick it up. But then we were kind of constantly potato stamping new ones. It was like, we were like in the thousands of that first EP. And so then, we decided to do it a bit more professionally and like signed to Communion Records and started doing things a bit more, I guess, professionally. Still don't really feel like a professional.
No, oh my gosh.
Right, yeah.
What do you think was different with Bears Den compared to the other bands? Like, what made this you feel like a lot more successful?
I think in our first band we just didn't know what we were doing at all. And I think in this band we don't really know what we're doing, but I think we're just a bit like, we talk a lot more and it's a bit more, I don't know, I think maybe you just need to like, I don't know what the word is, like mature or something, but you need to like kind of go understand your strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully with the time that it takes to sort of write better and better songs, that just comes with like growing up a bit, I think, and learning what you're good at and what you're not so good at, maybe. I don't know.
And did a lot of the industry connections from other bands like translate into this one early on?
We've just been so lucky. We're friends with so many bands who've like done amazing things, and like we were spoiled in the early days because we supported Daughter in America, we supported Mumford Sons in America.
Yeah, actually, how did those come about?
Like, well, I've known Winston from Mumford Sons since I was like 4 or 5 years old. We were actually in bands together through school and stuff. Like, he was in Captain Kick too. And so yeah, we were like, we've always been very close. And then when we all left school, like Marcus was one of like the first people I met in London, and Ben Lovett was one of the first people I met as well. And it's just sort of like, I don't know, it just kind of, we were all growing up together, and it just so happened that Mumford & Sons literally like became one of the biggest bands on the planet very, very quickly. But yeah, we were always sort of working together, and our old band Cherbourg supported them on tour, and so yeah, we've always kind of been writing and stuff at the same sort of time. And yeah.
And then how did your record label start?
So yeah, Communion Records is set up by Ben Lovett and Kev Jones, and it's awesome. It's like, it actually all started from a club night in West London, and the people who work there just like, it's really lovely. It's like being a part of a family, and we just feel very spoiled to work with people who care about our music so much. And yeah, it's just awesome.
How was your music spreading initially? Like, how did you get more people to listen to it in the early days?
I think, to be honest, we were very lucky with the supports, and as soon as we ever did, like the first tour we ever did was this tour supporting a band called the Smoke Fairies, and they're an awesome band, and I sometimes think if they hadn't taken us on that tour, like what would have happened, because we were like, after that tour, we were like immediately able to book shows to like 20 people, but it was still a show.
Yeah.
And, like,
how much music did you have at that point?
Like, I don't know, like 8 songs, but like not very many that are still like, I don't know. Yeah, maybe less, maybe like 4 or 5 songs.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was like such a small thing.
Must have been like your stage presence early on, because you already had so much practice from other bands, so you know how to like interact with the crowd.
That's definitely true. Like we've been in a bunch of different bands together and like separately, and I think, again, that's the whole maturing thing. I think it's learning how to be in a band, and like learning how to write songs, learning how to perform songs. And yeah, I think we've been very lucky, but I think also like whenever we've been fortunate enough to get a support, we've always gone, right, what's the next thing? What are we going to do after that? Like, how do we go back and, you know, try and build our own audience from like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of
Was
thing.
it through SoundCloud, or like what were you using?
We were using, well, early bands would have been like
MySpace.
and stuff, which is like crazy to think about, but it was like mainly like Facebook and then like Twitter, but it's like weird, like so much stuff's come along since we started, like outside. Instagram wasn't a thing when we started. It's like, that's kind of nuts. But yeah, like, to be honest, a lot of it was also just like word of mouth. Like, we only sold our first EP at shows. Like, we still can't get that EP anywhere. It's not on any streaming things at all. Yeah, so it's like, and that was really fun, and like added a sense of, I don't know, like it had to be at a show to get it. So it's like, there's something about that built a bit of a, I don't know, a closeness between us and the audience, I think, which I think is something that we're really passionate about. It's like not feeling like the audience is separate from you, trying to make that whole thing feel as one as possible, or like something.
What was the turning point when you realized you didn't have to work any more odd jobs and you could just do music for your career?
Must
have been so surreal, right?
It was surreal. I think in my head I thought it happened earlier for bands than it did happen. I remember like thinking, we played at a place called Shepherd's Bush Empire, which is like a 1,500 capacity venue in London. And I remember thinking even then I couldn't afford to get a coffee the next day.
Oh wow.
And I was like, whoa, like when does it start being like a career? And it wasn't long after that we started being able to like eat and drink at the normal times and things like that. But yeah, like I think I thought it would happen. I thought it happened a bit earlier for bands, but I think that's just all changing. And with like streaming and stuff, I think you can like have a living, but I think it just takes a bit longer to get there. But yeah.
What did your parents think when you wanted to do music for your career?
I think they were quite worried. Also, like, if I'd been classically trained and was like a really good musician, I think they would have had more of an understanding. But
you
trying to explain when you're like not that good at guitar and not really like writing very good songs, and it's like, no, this is a good idea, guys. It's not a very easy sell. But I think I just talked to them quite honestly about it and just said that like I feel really passionate about it, and I want to get better at it. And if I want to get better at it, I'll work all the time to get better at it. And
was there like a specific show that changed their mind that you brought them out to, or?
I think like Shepherd's Bush was one of the ones where they started to like go, my dad, I remember him saying to me, like, I just couldn't stop looking at the audience. Like, he couldn't stop watching the audience. He wasn't
Like, they all came there for you guys.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that blows their minds still to this day, is that it's not, like, they're really nice about the music and they're very sort of supportive, but like even recently when we played Shepherd's Bush Empire again recently, like I could see my dad on the balcony and he was just staring down at the floor, like watching, because he just like, I think it kind of blows his mind to see people connecting to it in the way that it happens, and I think that's just kind of sweet or something. It's cool.
I love that. Can you talk about the song New Jerusalem? Is it about your sister, or?
Yeah, New Jerusalem is about my sister. Yeah, so my sister's just a bit of a legend. She actually just got engaged 3 days ago, which is the best thing ever, best news ever. But yeah, it's a song about, I guess, being a younger brother and feeling like, I think that's like a confusing dynamic or something. I think I wanted to be protective of my sister, but actually she was very protective over me. And I think, I think my sister's a bit of a legend and I owe her a lot. And I think I was sort of trying to say that in that song, I guess, and just be like, you're a legend, basically. Yeah.
Does she still do music, or help you, or?
No, so she actually does like event management stuff now, but she was an actor for a long time. And she's incredibly talented, and like, she's just one of those people who can do anything she sets her mind to. She's awesome. Yeah. And
what made you want to like change up your whole website and social media in January this year? 2019.
I don't know, I think it's a slight departure for us, like stylistically this album is slightly different, and I think we wanted to represent that with the artwork and everything, and that translates to like socials and all that stuff too. And what
was the turning point that you realized you wanted to change up the artwork, change up everything?
I think it's just whenever we make a new album, it's like, to some extent you want to be creating something, or like breaking something and creating something, or like you want to like reinvent yourselves as a band somehow, almost like, right, who is this band like now, and like what are we trying to do here and stuff. And like I think it's really cool because you can kind of set an aesthetic. Every time you create music or anything, you can set up your own kind of aesthetic, which is really exciting and fun for us. And like even with the light show during our gigs, it's like they're based on the colours of our album artwork and things like that. And it's cool how you can mess with stuff like that.
What were the main themes or inspirations for your album?
Themes and inspirations. I read this book called Grief is the Thing with Feathers by a guy called Max Porter, which I think is one of the best books I've read ever. And that was a huge inspiration, and like I just thought it was very personal but very beautiful and very poetic, and I just thought something about it really resonated with me. And there's so many things, gosh, it's hard. I think we were trying to make an album, like lyrically, trying to talk about how it's hard to communicate with each other, and people like feeling a sense of being a bit isolated. So I think sonically and lyrically, it's so cool, the helicopter.
Yeah, it's like always above.
Like, I remember that about LA, it's just like a lot of helicopter. Yeah, I think we're sort of messing around with ideas around that, so like we started like sampling Morse code stuff and like sampling sonar from submarines and just anything that was kind of like around the idea of trying to communicate and perhaps not being able to, and we started sort of building a little universe around that.
Yeah.
That was kind of the idea.
And how about for your music videos in general? I feel like there's such a distinct like Bears Den style to it.
Yeah, well, I think we're just always trying to like, I don't know, like make something that makes us feel stuff. I think songwriting, like musically, all of it, it's like about trying to like be moved by it. So, and I think with videos, they're really hard to get right, music videos, and so for us I think it's always about going like, how can we, what have we not seen that we feel like could be cool, or how can we involve our audience, how can we like, always trying to think of ways of doing that, and it's fun, but it's hard work as well.
Are there any specific movies or directors that inspire you a lot?
Charlie Kaufman is probably my favorite like film director. Like my favorite film ever, I think, is a film called Synecdoche, New York. and he also did like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, okay.
Did a film called Adaptation. Like he's just a total genius. He did a new movie recently called Anomalisa, which was really beautiful as well. I think everything he does is kind of beautiful. Actually, we have a song called Berlin, and that song is basically like a series of, it's kind of like a love song, but it's also basically, it quotes a lot of things from his films, and it's kind of like a love song to someone, but also kind of like a little bit of a love song to his films. It's like,
oh, okay.
yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with them. I think I think he has a really cool like brain. So it's a weird brain, but it's very cool. Yeah.
How do you feel like you have kept up with your music? I feel like with music, trends come and go, and it's like kind of more and more difficult to stay relevant, especially with Spotify and everything.
Yeah, right. Well, I think what's cool about it is that we all have access to all of it. So it's not like it's as exclusive as it used to be in terms of like where you had to be able to buy all the records to be able to hear everything.
Yeah.
And I still feel like for us, I think your frame of references just like can be whatever you want them to be. It could be something incredibly contemporary, or it could be something incredibly old, or it could be whatever. And I think now, the really interesting artists are the ones who aren't too premeditated or trying to be we're a folk band, or we're a rock band, or we're an indie band. I feel like the genres are sort of melting a little bit. And I quite like that. It's like, it makes sort of music feel a bit more challenging, or a bit more like,
well, I mean,
I don't know. It's just interesting. I think I'm staying relevant. I guess we're not really in control of that. We're just trying to make stuff that feels as cool as possible to us. And hopefully we're not so far from the like zeitgeist that we're like, on a different planet. But yeah.
How do you think you've grown as a duo since the earlier days?
I think we've got a better understanding of like what we're good at and how we complement each other. And I think working on this album together, we spent more time on it, and we just allowed ourselves the freedom to like explore loads of different instruments. And I think that was like, technically, like in the past we've always been like, here's the plan, it's going to sound like this, we got 3 weeks, let's do it.
Oh wow.
And like this time we were like, no, we've got a year, let's just try stuff and see where we naturally go. And I think that speaks to the fact that we're, pretty like, it's very sort of like, it's quite a deep connection there between us. And and we were just able to kind of like fumble through like different instruments and try things out, and make some terrible music and make some weird stuff and
amazing music,
and then kind of also like peel that back and hopefully find common ground, find things that were inspiring to both of us and did kind of work. So but I think there's a lot of like trust involved in a band, and a lot of like I don't know, I think we were blessed with the first time in our careers to be able to have the time to experiment. I think with that time you're I don't know, it's just, it brings you closer together as you like you kind of are figuring out what you're both looking for from it, and that was quite special, really. Yeah.
What would you say have been the biggest challenges so far in your career?
Biggest challenges.
Or it could be your personal life, up to you.
Biggest challenges, I'd say the hard thing for any band is like probably the beginning. It's like there's a lot of like, probably going to be a fair bit of like rejection and like labels not being interested, or not being able to get a booking agent or a manager or whatever, and we definitely had all those sorts of things. And then the whole bit where you have to kind of invest in it without knowing if it's going to work, and that can be really tough. The biggest challenges, I'd say the early days present loads of challenges, and as you get to this point, or like the point we're at now, it kind of feels like maybe the challenges change in the sense of like you're kind of constantly trying to push yourself to do more, be sort of a better band, but they're not. To be honest, the major challenges are like trying to find a shower on a show day sometimes. It's really, really hard. A shower that works at a venue can be tricky. that kind of stuff too.
What does love mean to you?
What does love mean to me? I think love is, well, that's a big question. I think completely trusting something or someone.
Yeah.
Being willing to be completely open and like, I don't know, just recognizing that your own weaknesses are not weaknesses to them, or if they are, they still see past them. And then I think vice versa as well.
Yeah.
And if you recognize that in sync with each other, that's kind of what love is to me, I think.
Last question, what do you want Bears to be remembered for?
Oof. I'd love it if we were remembered for like, at some point, being able to move people. I think like that's been something that I think that's like in any way, like if that's moving someone to dance, moving someone to like, you know, propose, moving someone to like cry, whatever it is. Like, I just like the idea that there's like an element of catharsis to what we're doing. Like, we write songs that are about quite difficult things, but the point of them is that everyone goes through difficult things, and if we're all like together in a room, like at a live show, just that whole thing is kind of like, that's sort of like bringing a sense of community to like something that doesn't, that can feel like in a world where you can feel quite isolated. That's, so I guess being able to like hopefully move people, I think is something that I would love to be able to say that we be remembered for that. But we're not really in control of what we're remembered for. It could be, you know, it could be like, yeah, these guys are really smelly, or, you know, we have no idea. You're not in control of that, so, yeah.
Oh, this is awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. No, it's all good.